Have you ever found yourself overthinking every text you send to someone you like? Spent hours trying to impress them, only to feel like you're pushing them away? It's frustrating, isn't it? There's a common belief out there. If you try hard enough, you can win anyone over. But what if I told you that this mindset often works against you? We've all been there, caught in the trap of doing too much, bending over backward, and losing ourselves in the process. It's not just exhausting, it's ineffective. Why? Because trying too hard often signals insecurity and desperation, qualities that repel rather than attract. The reality is, strong relationships aren't built on force. They thrive on connection, authenticity, and mutual respect. Now imagine flipping this script. Instead of trying harder, you try smarter. Instead of striving to impress, you let attraction grow naturally. This isn't about playing games, it's about adopting a Stoic approach, a mindset that emphasizes control, self-awareness, and personal growth. In this video, I'll guide you through 8 transformative principles that will not only change how you approach relationships, but also deepen your understanding of yourself. These principles align with the wisdom of Stoicism, focusing on what's within your control and letting go of what isn't. Let's dive in with the first step. 1. Start with self-confidence. Confidence is a quality that resonates deeply in every aspect of life, especially in relationships. But let's start with an honest question. When you're around someone you really like, how secure do you feel? Do you walk into the interaction with a sense of calm assurance, or do you find yourself second-guessing your every word and action? If it's the latter, you're not alone, but it's worth exploring why confidence, or the lack of it, plays such a critical role in how relationships unfold. When you genuinely like someone, it's easy to fall into the trap of overanalyzing. You might think, what can I say to make them like me? Or how do I prove I'm worth their attention? But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from trying to convince someone else of your worth. It comes from knowing your worth, independent of their opinion. This shift in mindset is powerful. It's not about arrogance or pretending to be better than others. It's about being rooted in who you are. Building self-confidence begins with self-awareness. Ask yourself, what are your strengths? What makes you unique? What do you bring to the table in relationships? By reflecting on these questions, you start to see your own value more clearly. Confidence isn't something you have to fake, it's something you cultivate by recognizing and embracing your true self. At its core, confidence is attractive because it signals stability. It says, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with that. People are drawn to this energy because it creates a sense of trust and security. When you're confident, you don't need to overcompensate with grand gestures or constant reassurance. You show up as yourself, and that authenticity is magnetic. But what if you don't feel confident yet? The good news is that confidence isn't an innate trait. It's a skill you can develop. Start small. Set achievable goals for yourself and celebrate your progress. Whether it's learning a new skill, stepping out of your comfort zone, or taking better care of your health, every step you take toward growth reinforces your belief in yourself. Over time, these small wins build the foundation for lasting confidence. Another important aspect of confidence is learning to manage rejection. Let's face it, rejection is an inevitable part of life, especially in relationships. But here's the perspective shift. Rejection isn't a reflection of your worth. It's simply a sign that the connection wasn't the right fit. When you approach rejection with resilience, you demonstrate inner strength. You show that your self-worth isn't tied to external validation, and that's incredibly empowering. Stoicism offers valuable insights here. One of its core teachings is to focus on what you can control, your actions, thoughts, and reactions, and let go of what you can't, such as how someone else feels about you. When you internalize this mindset, you free yourself from the anxiety of trying to impress others. You realize that your value doesn't depend on someone else's approval. It's rooted in how you see and respect yourself. Confidence also means knowing your boundaries and standing by them. When you like someone, it's tempting to bend over backward to please them, but true confidence comes from understanding that a healthy relationship requires mutual respect. By setting boundaries, you communicate that you value yourself and won't settle for less than you deserve. This isn't about being inflexible, it's about showing that you have a strong sense of self. Finally, remember that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about owning your quirks, your flaws, and your humanity. Perfection is intimidating, but authenticity is relatable. When you embrace yourself fully, you invite others to do the same. And that's where real connection begins. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, what's one small step you can take today to build your confidence? Maybe it's revisiting a goal you've put off, speaking up in a conversation, or simply reminding yourself of your strengths. Whatever it is, take that step. Confidence isn't built overnight, but every action you take in its direction makes a difference. And when you approach relationships with a strong sense of self, you don't just attract others, you inspire them. 2. Focus on building a connection. What does it really mean to connect with someone? Is it about impressing them with grand gestures, witty jokes, or extravagant gifts? Or is it about something deeper, something genuine? Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly connected with someone, not through words alone, but through a shared experience or an unspoken understanding? Too often we approach relationships as if they're a performance. We think if I do this perfectly, they'll like me. But here's the thing. Connection isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up authentically, listening with intent, and sharing moments that matter. Yet many people miss this point. They get so caught up in trying to be likable that they forget to be themselves. Why? Because fear creeps in, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough. But let's pause here for a moment. Think about a time when you felt truly connected to someone. What made that moment special? Chances are it wasn't because of what you did to impress them. It was because of how you made them feel and how they made you feel in return. Real connection is reciprocal. It flows naturally when you focus less on trying and more on being present. So, how do you do that? First, shift your mindset. Instead of trying to win their approval, aim to understand them. Ask questions, not superficial ones, but questions that reveal who they really are. What excites them? What are their dreams, their fears? And don't just ask, listen. Really listen. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen and heard. Next, look for shared experiences. Connection is often built in the little things, laughing at the same joke, enjoying a quiet moment together, or even facing a challenge as a team. These moments create a bond that no amount of effort can replicate. So instead of planning the perfect date or sending the perfect text, focus on creating opportunities for these moments to happen naturally. Let me share a story to illustrate this. Imagine someone who spends weeks planning an elaborate surprise for their crush, complete with expensive gifts and an over-the-top display of affection. But when they finally pull it off, it feels forced. Why? Because it's about them, not the other person. Now picture this. Someone else invites their crush to go on a simple walk, talking about life, sharing stories, and laughing at silly things. Which scenario feels more authentic? Which one builds a real connection? The answer is clear, but here's the catch. Building a connection takes patience. You can't rush it. You have to let it grow organically, like a plant taking root. Water it with attention, sunlight it with kindness, and let it grow at its own pace. This is where Stoicism plays a powerful role. It teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our intentions, and to let go of what we can't, like how quickly someone warms up to us or how they respond to our efforts. When you approach relationships with this mindset, something amazing happens. You stop overthinking. You stop trying to control every outcome. Instead, you start enjoying the process, getting to know someone, discovering shared interests, and appreciating the little moments along the way. This shift not only relieves stress, but also makes you more attractive because it shows you're comfortable in your own skin. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you might be thinking, but what if they don't feel the same way? That's a valid fear. But here's the truth. Not everyone will. And that's okay. What matters is how you handle it. If you've built a genuine connection and it doesn't lead to the outcome you hoped for, you haven't failed. You've grown. You've learned more about what you want, what you need, and what you bring to the table. That's a win in itself. As you reflect on this, I want to challenge you. Think of one way you can build a stronger connection with someone you care about. Maybe it's reaching out to ask how their day went and really listening to their answer. Maybe it's suggesting an activity you both enjoy or sharing something meaningful about yourself. Whatever it is, take that step. And before we move on to the next section, let me ask you for a small favor. If you're finding value in this discussion so far, show your support. Hit that like button and comment number 1 if you're ready to prioritize real connection in your relationships. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoic relationships, personal growth, and mastering the art of authenticity. It's a journey worth taking, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Up next, we'll dive into why giving space is just as important as building connection, and how to master the balance that keeps attraction alive. 3. Give them space. Let's talk about a paradox in relationships. The more you chase someone, the more they seem to pull away. Have you ever wondered why this happens? It's not because they don't like you or because you're doing something wrong. It's because humans value freedom and autonomy, and when those things feel threatened, even subconsciously, it can cause people to retreat. Now, think about how you've approached someone you really like. Have you found yourself texting them constantly, wanting to be around them all the time, or feeling uneasy when they don't respond quickly? If so, you're not alone. Many of us instinctively try to stay close to the people we care about, but too much closeness, too soon or too often, can backfire. Giving space isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating someone into liking you. It's about respecting boundaries, valuing independence, and letting the relationship breathe. Why is space so important? Because it creates balance. When you give someone room to be themselves, to miss you, and to reflect on their feelings, you allow attraction to grow naturally. Think about it. When was the last time you felt drawn to someone who was constantly in your space, demanding attention, or trying too hard to be involved in your life? Probably never. People are most attractive when they're comfortable in their own skin, when they have their own interests, and when they're not afraid to let go of control. Giving space also demonstrates confidence. It shows that you trust the connection you've built and that you're not afraid of losing it. This is where Stoicism can be a powerful guide. One of the core principles of Stoicism is focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. You can't control how someone feels about you or how often they reach out. What you can control is how you handle those moments of uncertainty. Instead of reacting with anxiety, you can choose to be calm, patient, and self-assured. But what does giving space look like in practice? It doesn't mean ignoring them or playing mind games. It means finding a healthy rhythm of connection and independence. For example, if you're always the one initiating conversations or plans, try stepping back and seeing if they take the initiative. If they don't, it's an opportunity to reflect on whether the interest is mutual. If they do, it's a sign that they value the relationship and are willing to invest in it. This balance also applies to how you spend your time together. When you're with them, be fully present. Engage in meaningful conversations, create memories, and enjoy each other's company. But when you're apart, focus on your own life. Pursue your goals, hobbies, and friendships. This not only enriches your life, but also makes you a more interesting and attractive person. When someone sees that you have a full life outside of them, it signals that you're confident and self-sufficient, qualities that naturally draw people in. Now, you might wonder, what if giving space makes them lose interest? That's a valid concern, but here's the truth. If someone's interest fades because you're not constantly in their orbit, it's better to know early on. Relationships built on constant attention and dependency are fragile. True, lasting connections are based on mutual respect, trust, and the freedom to be individuals within the partnership. There's another benefit to giving space. It allows you to gain clarity about your own feelings. When you're constantly focused on someone else, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs, desires, and boundaries. Taking a step back gives you the perspective to evaluate whether this person aligns with your values and whether the relationship feels healthy and balanced. Imagine this scenario. You're in the early stages of getting to know someone, and everything feels exciting and new. It's tempting to dive in headfirst, to spend all your time with them, and to prioritize them above everything else. But what happens when that initial spark fades? If the relationship is built solely on the intensity of those early days, it might struggle to sustain itself. Giving space from the beginning sets the foundation for a healthier dynamic, one that can withstand the ebbs and flows of life. Reflect on your past experiences for a moment. Have there been times when you gave too much too soon? How did that affect the relationship? And what about the times when you found a balance between connection and independence? Chances are the latter felt more fulfilling and less stressful. This isn't a coincidence. When both people in a relationship feel free to be themselves, the connection becomes stronger, not weaker. As you think about how to apply this principle, remember that giving space isn't about following strict rules or timelines. It's about being attuned to the other person's needs and your own. Pay attention to their energy, their responses, and the rhythm of your interactions. If they seem distant, don't take it personally or try to force closeness. Instead, use that time to focus on your own growth and well-being. And if they're consistently engaged and invested, match their energy in a way that feels natural. Giving space is an act of trust, not just in the other person, but also in yourself. It's trusting that you're enough as you are, without needing to prove it constantly. It's trusting that if the relationship is meant to grow, it will, and that if it doesn't, you'll still be okay. This mindset doesn't just transform your relationships, it transforms your life. It aligns perfectly with Stoic relationships, where the focus is on inner strength and self-mastery rather than external validation. As we move into the next principle, think about how you can embrace the idea of giving space in your current relationships. What would it look like to step back, let go of control, and allow the connection to unfold naturally? In the next section, we'll explore how working on your own goals can amplify this process and make you even more magnetic. 4. Work on your own goals. Here's a powerful question for you. What makes someone truly attractive? Is it their looks, their charm, or maybe their ability to make you laugh? While all those things matter to some degree, what sets someone apart, what makes them irresistible, is their sense of purpose. Think about it. People who have a clear direction in life, who are passionate about their goals, and who are actively working to achieve them radiate a unique kind of confidence. It's this energy, this drive that naturally draws others toward them. Now let's flip the script and look inward. Are you living your life with purpose? Or have you ever fallen into the trap of making someone else the center of your world, putting your own dreams on hold to prioritize them? If you've been there, you're not alone. It's a common mistake, especially when you really like someone. You think, if I just give them all my attention, they'll see how much I care. But the truth is, this approach often has the opposite effect. When you neglect your own goals and focus solely on someone else, you risk losing the very qualities that make you attractive. You start to shrink, becoming more dependent on their validation, and in the process, you forget who you are. But when you work on your goals, when you chase your passions and build the life you want, you not only become happier but also more magnetic. Why? Because you're living authentically, and that's incredibly appealing. So how do you do this? Start by identifying what truly matters to you. What are your dreams? What excites you? Maybe it's starting a business, pursuing a creative passion, or working toward a personal milestone like improving your health or learning a new skill. Whatever it is, commit to it. Take action every day, no matter how small, to move closer to your goals. And here's the key. Don't do it to impress anyone else. Do it because it fulfills you. When you're actively working on your goals, something amazing happens. First, you feel a sense of accomplishment, which boosts your confidence. Second, you create a life that's rich and full, which makes you less dependent on external validation. And third, you naturally become more interesting. Think about it. Who would you rather spend time with? Someone who's constantly waiting for your attention or someone who's passionate, driven, and inspiring? The answer is obvious. But working on your goals isn't just about impressing others, it's about living fully. Life is short. And every moment you spend waiting for someone to notice you is a moment you could have used to pursue your dreams. Don't wait. Take control of your narrative. As Stoicism teaches, focus on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your efforts, and let go of what you can't, like how someone else perceives you. When you adopt this mindset, you liberate yourself from the anxiety of trying to prove your worth. You realize your value isn't tied to someone else's approval. It's inherent in who you are and what you stand for. Now, some of you might be thinking, but if I focus on myself, won't they think I'm not interested? Not at all. In fact, the opposite is true. When you have your own goals and priorities, it shows that you value yourself. It sends the message that you're not just waiting around for someone to complete you. You're already complete, and you're inviting them to join you on your journey. This shift in energy is powerful. It turns the dynamic from one of neediness to one of mutual respect and admiration. Let me share a quick example. Imagine two people who both like the same person. One spends all their time trying to impress them, sending constant messages, and putting their own life on hold. The other is kind, attentive, but also busy building their own dreams, perhaps launching a project, traveling, or learning a new skill. Who do you think stands out more? The person who's chasing or the person who's thriving? It's not even a contest. And here's a bonus. When you focus on your goals, you're not just building a better life for yourself. You're also setting the stage for a healthier relationship. Why? Because strong relationships are built on two whole, fulfilled individuals coming together, not on one person sacrificing their identity for the other. By prioritizing your growth, you ensure that you bring your best self to the table. As you think about this, I want to challenge you. What's one goal you've been putting off because you've been too focused on someone else? Maybe it's a career move, a personal project, or even just dedicating time to a hobby you love. Whatever it is, commit to taking one step toward it today. Write it down, make a plan, and start small if you need to. The important thing is to take action. If this idea resonates with you, let me know. Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to start focusing on your goals and becoming the best version of yourself. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this, insights that can transform not just your relationships, but your entire approach to life. In the next section, we'll explore how to stay authentic, even when you really want to impress someone. It's one of the most important lessons in Stoic relationships, and I can't wait to share it with you. 5. Be authentic. Let's start with a simple yet profound question. When you're around someone you really like, are you truly yourself? Or do you find yourself adjusting, saying things you think they want to hear, hiding parts of who you are, or even pretending to be someone you're not? If you've ever done this, you're not alone. Many people fall into the trap of trying to impress by being someone they're not. But here's the truth. Authenticity is far more attractive than perfection. Think about the relationships in your life that feel the most fulfilling. They're probably the ones where you can be yourself without fear of judgment. Why? Because authenticity creates trust, and trust is the foundation of any meaningful connection. When you try to be someone else to win someone over, you're not just deceiving them, you're also robbing yourself of the chance to be loved for who you truly are. So what does it mean to be authentic? It means embracing your strengths and your flaws. It means being honest about your thoughts, feelings, and values, even if it means risking rejection. Authenticity isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. And that's what people connect with: realness, vulnerability, and the courage to be yourself. But let's be honest, being authentic can feel risky, especially when you really like someone. You might worry, what if they don't like the real me? It's a valid fear, but here's the thing. If someone doesn't appreciate you for who you are, they're not the right person for you. Pretending to be someone else might keep them around temporarily, but it won't create the kind of deep, lasting connection you're looking for. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. You can control how authentically you show up in your relationships, but you can't control how others respond to you. This philosophy encourages you to prioritize integrity over approval, knowing that true happiness comes from aligning your actions with your values. Now, let's talk about the benefits of authenticity. First, it takes the pressure off. When you're authentic, you don't have to constantly calculate your words or actions to fit someone else's expectations. You can simply be. This creates a sense of ease and confidence that's impossible to fake. Second, authenticity attracts the right people. When you're true to yourself, you naturally attract those who resonate with your energy and values, while those who don't will fade away. And that's a good thing. It's better to be alone than to be with someone who doesn't truly see or appreciate you. Another benefit of authenticity is that it fosters deeper connections. When you're open and honest, you give others permission to do the same. This creates a space where vulnerability is not just accepted but celebrated. It's in this space that trust grows, and with trust comes intimacy. So how do you practice authenticity? Start by getting to know yourself. What do you value? What brings you joy? What are your non-negotiables in a relationship? The more you understand yourself, the easier it becomes to show up authentically. Next, practice honesty in your interactions. This doesn't mean sharing every thought that crosses your mind, but it does mean being truthful about your intentions, feelings, and boundaries. For example, if you're not ready for something serious, say so. If you disagree with someone's opinion, express your perspective respectfully. If you're feeling nervous or unsure, admit it. Vulnerability can be scary, but it's also incredibly disarming. When you're willing to show your imperfections, you make it easier for others to do the same. Authenticity also means letting go of the need for approval. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop basing your self-worth on their opinions. When you're authentic, you understand that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. The goal isn't to please everyone, it's to live in alignment with your true self. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you're with someone you like, pay attention to how you feel. Are you relaxed, or are you overthinking your words and actions? If you notice yourself trying to impress or hide parts of yourself, pause and ask, what would I do or say if I wasn't worried about their reaction? Then do that. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but over time it will become second nature. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A friend of mine once told me about a first date where they tried so hard to impress the other person, they dressed in a way they thought the other person would like, exaggerated their interests, and avoided any topics that might cause disagreement. The date went fine, but something felt off. When they got home, they realized they hadn't been themselves at all. On their next date, they decided to let go of the pretense. They talked openly about their quirks, their passions, and even their fears. The result? A deeper, more meaningful connection. And while that relationship didn't last forever, it taught them a valuable lesson. Authenticity is the foundation of true connection. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, are there areas in your relationships where you're not being fully authentic? What would it look like to show up as your true self? Remember, authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about saying, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And while not everyone will take it, those who do will appreciate you for the unique, imperfect, and wonderful person you are. In the next section, we'll explore how to show interest in someone without overdoing it, how to strike the balance between expressing your feelings and maintaining your self-respect. Stay tuned, because this is where things get really interesting. 6. Show interest without overdoing it. How do you express interest in someone you really like without coming across as overbearing? It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Too much and you might seem desperate, too little, and they might not even realize you're interested. But there's a sweet spot, a way to show someone you care while maintaining your dignity and confidence. Let's dive into how you can master this balance. First, let's talk about why overdoing it can backfire. When you overwhelm someone with attention, constantly texting, making grand gestures, or always being available, you risk creating an imbalance in the dynamic. Why? Because it can feel like you're trying too hard, and that energy often makes people uncomfortable. It's not that effort isn't appreciated, It's that effort without boundaries can feel suffocating. People are naturally drawn to what feels mutual and organic, not what feels forced. So how do you show interest without going overboard? Start by being intentional. Instead of bombarding them with constant communication, focus on quality over quantity. A thoughtful message or a meaningful compliment goes much further than a barrage of emojis or over-the-top declarations. For instance, instead of texting them 10 times in a row, you might say, "I saw this and thought of you," attaching something relevant and personal. It's simple, yet it shows that they're on your mind in a meaningful way. Another key is to pay attention to how they respond. Are they engaging with you enthusiastically, or are their replies brief and sporadic? If the latter, it's essential to respect their space. As we discussed earlier, giving space isn't about withholding affection. It's about creating a healthy rhythm in your interactions. Showing interest means meeting them where they are, not overwhelming them with where you want them to be. Let's take a step back and think about why overdoing it happens in the first place. Often it stems from insecurity or fear of losing them, fear of not being enough, or fear of rejection. But here's the thing, trying harder doesn't guarantee success. In fact, it often does the opposite by creating an unequal dynamic. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions and intentions, while letting go of the need to control outcomes. When you approach someone with genuine interest but without attachment to the result, you come across as calm, confident, and self-assured. One effective way to show interest is through actions, not just words. Words can be powerful, but actions speak louder. If you're interested in someone, support their passions, be there when they need you, and invest in shared experiences. These actions show that you're paying attention and that you value their presence in your life. For example, if they mention a favorite hobby or a book they're excited about, follow up on it. Ask about it later or even engage with it yourself. These small gestures go a long way in building a connection. Another crucial aspect is balance. If you're always the one initiating plans, reaching out, or driving the relationship forward, it might be time to step back and see if they meet you halfway. Mutual effort is a cornerstone of healthy relationships. If they're not reciprocating your interest, it's important to recognize that and adjust your approach accordingly. This isn't about playing games, it's about respecting yourself enough to expect mutual effort. Now, here's a mindset shift that can change everything. Stop focusing on impressing them and start focusing on enjoying your time with them. When you're constantly trying to prove your worth, you put unnecessary pressure on both yourself and the relationship. But when you focus on the present moment, on sharing laughter, meaningful conversations, and genuine connection, you naturally become more attractive. People want to be around those who make them feel good, not those who are always seeking approval. Let me share an example to illustrate this. Imagine someone who expresses interest by constantly praising the other person, texting them good morning and good night every day, and always rearranging their schedule to be available. While the intention is good, the energy can feel overwhelming. Now imagine someone else who shows interest through thoughtful actions, like remembering important details, being consistent but not overbearing, and creating meaningful moments together. The second approach feels more natural, doesn't it? It's not about doing more, it's about doing better. If you're wondering how to apply this in your life, start small. Think about one thoughtful way you can show interest without overdoing it. Maybe it's sending a message that's personal and relevant, or maybe it's planning a simple activity you both enjoy. Whatever it is, make sure it feels authentic to you. Showing interest isn't about following a script, it's about being genuine. As you practice this, remember to check in with yourself. Are you showing interest because you genuinely want to, or are you doing it out of fear or obligation? Authenticity is key here. When your actions come from a place of genuine care and self-confidence, they'll resonate far more than if they're driven by insecurity. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to start showing interest in a way that's balanced and authentic. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into Stoicism, relationships, and personal growth. There's so much more to explore together, and I'm excited to continue this journey with you. In the next section, we'll discuss how to stay calm and composed, even in the face of uncertainty, a key principle in both Stoicism and successful relationships. 7. Stay calm under pressure. Have you ever been in a situation where your emotions threatened to take control? Maybe it was a moment of uncertainty, waiting for someone to text you back, a tense conversation with someone you like, or even misreading their tone and assuming the worst. These moments can feel overwhelming, can't they? They pull at your insecurities, testing your patience and composure. But here's the thing. How you handle pressure says a lot about your character and your readiness for a meaningful relationship. Why is staying calm so important? Because it shows maturity, confidence, and emotional stability. When you're calm under pressure, you signal that you can handle challenges without falling apart. This is incredibly attractive, not just in romantic relationships, but in life as a whole. Think about it. When was the last time you felt drawn to someone who panicked at the first sign of trouble? On the other hand, someone who remains composed, even in difficult situations, inspires trust and respect. Stoicism offers valuable tools for staying calm, particularly in relationships. One of its core teachings is the idea of focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. In moments of pressure, this principle can be a game changer. For example, you can't control how quickly someone responds to your message, but you can control how you react to the delay. Do you spiral into anxiety, or do you choose to stay grounded and focus on something productive instead? Another principle of Stoicism is understanding the difference between perception and reality. Often, our minds create stories that amplify our stress. A delayed response becomes "they're not interested," or a short comment becomes "I said something wrong." But what if these stories aren't true? What if the delay is just because they're busy, or the comment was simply a neutral remark? By questioning your assumptions, you can prevent yourself from overreacting and stay calm in the face of uncertainty. Staying calm also requires self-awareness. Pay attention to your triggers. What situations make you feel anxious or insecure? Is it when you don't hear from someone you like for a while? Or when plans change unexpectedly? By identifying these triggers, you can prepare for them and choose healthier responses. For instance, if waiting for a text is a common trigger, use that time to engage in something you enjoy or practice mindfulness. Shifting your focus away from the source of anxiety helps you regain control over your emotions. Another strategy for staying calm is to slow down. When emotions run high, it's easy to react impulsively, sending multiple texts, overanalyzing their words, or trying to force a resolution. But impulsive actions often escalate the situation instead of resolving it. Instead, take a step back. Pause before you act. Ask yourself, what's the best response in this situation? Will this action bring me closer to my goal, or will it create more tension? Often, the best response is patience. Let me share a scenario to illustrate this. Imagine you're on a date, and the conversation takes an unexpected turn. The person you're with mentions something that makes you feel insecure, maybe about your career, your appearance, or your past. In that moment, you have two choices: react emotionally or stay calm and composed. If you react emotionally, defending yourself aggressively, shutting down, or trying to shift the blame, you risk creating conflict. But if you stay calm, acknowledging your feelings internally while responding thoughtfully, you demonstrate strength and maturity. You turn a potentially negative moment into an opportunity for understanding and connection. It's also important to practice self-compassion. Staying calm doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It means acknowledging your feelings without letting them control you. It's okay to feel hurt, frustrated, or anxious. That's part of being human. The key is to allow those emotions to pass without acting on them impulsively. As Stoicism teaches, emotions are temporary. They don't define you unless you let them. Another powerful way to cultivate calmness is through mindfulness practices like meditation, deep breathing, or journaling. These techniques help you stay present and grounded, even when external circumstances feel chaotic. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a few minutes to focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, hold it for a moment, and exhale slowly. This simple practice can calm your nervous system and give you the clarity to approach the situation with a level head. Finally, staying calm under pressure is about trusting yourself. Trust that you have the strength to handle challenges, that you can navigate uncertainty without falling apart. This trust isn't built overnight, it's developed through practice and experience. Every time you choose calmness over chaos, you reinforce your inner resilience. As you reflect on this, consider how staying calm can transform your relationships. When you're calm, you create a safe and stable environment for connection. You show that you're someone who can be relied upon, someone who won't let small bumps in the road derail the relationship. And most importantly, you show that you respect yourself enough to prioritize your peace over fleeting emotions. In the next section, we'll explore the final principle, letting things develop naturally. It's the culmination of everything we've discussed so far, and it's the key to creating relationships that are both meaningful and sustainable. 8. Let things develop naturally. Patience is one of the most underrated virtues in relationships. In a world where everything feels instant messaging, instant gratification, it's easy to expect relationships to follow the same pattern. But here's the truth. Meaningful connections take time. Letting things develop naturally isn't about being passive. It's about trusting the process and embracing the journey instead of rushing toward the destination. Let's start with a simple question. How often have you felt the urge to define a relationship or push for clarity too soon? It's a common feeling, especially when you really like someone. You want to know where you stand, how they feel, and what the future holds. But by trying to force answers or outcomes, you risk undermining the organic growth of the relationship. When you let things unfold at their own pace, you create space for trust, understanding, and genuine connection to form naturally. Why does rushing often lead to problems? Because it puts pressure on the relationship. Imagine planting a seed and expecting it to bloom overnight. No matter how much you water it or how much sunlight it gets, it needs time to grow. The same is true for relationships. Trying to accelerate the process often creates stress, anxiety, and unrealistic expectations for both you and the other person. So how do you practice patience and let things develop naturally? First, focus on the present moment. Enjoy the time you spend together without constantly worrying about the future. What's the point of imagining a future together if you're not fully present in the now? Whether it's a simple conversation, a shared laugh, or a quiet moment, these are the building blocks of a strong connection. Savor them. Next, trust the process. This doesn't mean you ignore red flags or avoid important conversations. It means recognizing that relationships have their own rhythm. Sometimes people need time to feel comfortable, to open up, or to figure out their own emotions. By allowing this space, you show respect for both their journey and your own. It's also essential to balance patience with intentionality. Letting things develop naturally doesn't mean you avoid expressing your feelings or ignore your needs. It means communicating honestly while respecting the other person's pace. For example, if you're feeling a strong connection, share that in a way that invites dialogue rather than demanding a response. Say something like, "I'm really enjoying getting to know you. How do you feel about where things are going?" This approach opens the door for mutual understanding without applying pressure. Another key aspect of letting things develop naturally is embracing uncertainty. Relationships, especially in the early stages, are filled with unknowns. Will this person feel the same way? Will it work out long term? Instead of letting these questions consume you, focus on what you can control. Your actions, your mindset, and your intentions. As Stoicism teaches, we find peace when we let go of what's outside our control. Trust that if the relationship is meant to grow, it will. Let me share a story that illustrates this. A friend of mine once met someone they felt an instant connection with. Instead of trying to label the relationship or rush into commitment, they chose to let it evolve naturally. They spent time together, shared their thoughts and feelings honestly, and allowed the relationship to grow at its own pace. Over time, their bond deepened, not because they forced it, but because they nurtured it with patience and authenticity. Today, they look back and realize that the process of falling for each other, the slow, steady growth, was just as beautiful as the relationship itself. But what if patience doesn't pay off? What if the relationship doesn't go where you hoped it would? That's a valid concern. But here's the perspective shift. Letting things develop naturally isn't about guaranteeing a specific outcome. It's about respecting the journey, knowing that every relationship, whether it lasts a lifetime or a season, teaches you something valuable about yourself and what you want. When you embrace this mindset, you free yourself from the constant need for control. You stop chasing certainty and start appreciating the present. This shift doesn't just benefit your relationships, it transforms your life. You become more grounded, more self-assured, and more open to the possibilities around you. Now, as we wrap up this final principle, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to let things develop naturally and embrace the journey of connection. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into relationships, stoicism, and personal growth. Together, we'll continue exploring what it means to build meaningful, lasting connections in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the lessons we've explored. Relationships are complex, no doubt, but they don't have to be overwhelming. When you approach them with intention, balance, and authenticity, they become less about striving and more about connecting. We started with self-confidence, understanding that knowing and valuing yourself is the foundation for any meaningful connection. We explored how to build genuine relationships by focusing on quality interactions, giving space, and respecting the natural rhythm of growth. We talked about pursuing your own goals, staying authentic, and showing interest thoughtfully, all while staying calm under pressure. Finally, we learned to embrace patience, letting relationships develop naturally, trusting that what's meant to be will unfold in its own time. The principles we've discussed aren't just strategies for relationships, they're tools for personal growth and fulfillment. When you live with purpose, align your actions with your values, and let go of what's outside your control, you embody the wisdom of Stoicism. This mindset doesn't just make you a better partner, it makes you a better version of yourself. Now, let's leave you with this thought. Relationships aren't about perfection. They're about connection, growth, and shared experiences. They're about two people who bring their whole selves to the table, building something meaningful together. So take these principles to heart, but don't forget to enjoy the journey. After all, the best relationships aren't forced, they're nurtured with care, patience, and respect. If this video resonated with you, like it and comment number 1 to let us know you're ready to transform your approach to relationships. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into relationships, stoicism, and personal growth. Together, we're building a community of individuals striving for deeper connections and more fulfilling lives. Thank you for being here, for reflecting, and for taking steps toward a more meaningful way of living and loving. Until next time, take care and remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.